Good morning, students. Hope everyone is fine and doing good. So, in the last video, we discussed about the 100 dresses part 1, and we saw how Wanda was discriminated by her classmates, especially Maddie and Peggy, and taunting her about her dress and her shoes. And you see, in the last class, we already saw that there was one competition, drawing competition, and she had won the drawing competition, and in the drawing competition she had drawn 100 dresses, all of different sizes and colors and designs, and how everyone was so interested. It was exhibited in the classroom, but sadly she was not there to receive the gift. Okay, so this class we will see what happens. So you see how there was a sense of regret in Maddie and Peggy as well, regarding the way they behaved with Wanda. Okay, in this part 2 we shall discuss today and come to know what happened later. Okay, so let's see. While the class was circling the room, the monitor from the principal's office brought Miss Mason a note. Miss Mason read it several times and studied it thoughtfully for a while. Then she clapped her hands. Okay, so while the class was circling the room, okay, so it was a little bit of activity was going on in the classroom, because it was the drawings were displayed on the rooms and the children were enjoying the exhibition. Okay, so at the time what happened, the monitor from the principal's office brought the Miss Mason a note. Miss Mason was the class teacher. Okay, so the monitor from the principal's office, he brought Miss Mason a note. Okay, a letter, a note. Miss Mason read it several times and studied it thoughtfully a while. Then she clapped her hands. Okay, so she's read it. The letter maybe contained something very personal and very interesting. Maybe that's why she read it so many times, and at last she clapped her hands. Attention class, everyone back to their seat. Okay, so when she got the letter, she told all the students to go back to their seat. When the shuffling of feet had stopped and the room was still and quiet, when students became quiet, okay, Miss Mason said, I have a letter from Wanda's father that I want to read to you. Okay, so what letter was this? It was a letter from Wanda's father. What he had written, Miss Mason wanted to read it to the whole class. Miss Mason stood there a moment, and the silence in the room grew tense and expectant. Okay, everybody was wanting to know what message came from Wanda's father, because for the past 3-4 days she had not been attending class, and plus she had also won the drawing competition. Okay, the teacher adjusted her glasses slowly and deliberately. Her manner indicated what was coming. This letter from Wanda's father was a matter of great importance, and the way her body posture suggested that something important was written in the letter. That is the reason why she was adjusting herself. Okay, so you'll see here, the teacher adjusted her glasses slowly and deliberately. Her manner indicated that what was coming. This letter from Wanda's father was a matter of great importance. Everybody listened closely as Miss Mason read a brief note. Okay, so it was a small note from Wanda's father to whom? To Miss Mason. What did the letter read? Let us read here. Dear teacher, my Wanda will not come to your school anymore. Jack also. Now we move away to a big city. No more holler Polak. No more ask why funny name. Plenty of funny names in the big city. Yours truly, Jan Petronsky. So what is it? Yes, I am here to inform you that my little girl is not going to attend your school anymore. Not only she, but also her brother Jack is also not going to attend the school anymore, because we have moved to a big city. It's a small city. The place where before they were staying was a small city where everyone noticed each other very easily. Okay, so he says that since we are moving to a big city, now in that big city, no more people will ask us whether you came from Poland or whether you are not Americans or why your name is funny. Okay, these things will not happen. Okay, because in the city there are plenty of funny names and nobody will bother to ask us. So this was a simple note given to the teacher, because maybe Wanda used to go and tell her parents about the taunts, about the discrimination that she faced in her classroom. So this was a reply from the father, a letter from the father to the teacher. A deep silence made the reading of this letter. Miss Mason took off her glasses, blew on them, and wiped them on her soft white handkerchief. Then she put them on again and looked at the class. When she spoke, her voice was very low. She was very sad. Maybe she was not aware of these things going on in the classroom. Maybe she did not knew that Wanda was being discriminated. Maybe she did not take the trouble to find out who was struggling in the class. So she found herself to be also guilty for the things that were happening in Wanda's life. Okay, so she felt very upset and she was very low. She spoke in a very low voice. Okay, so what she did, I'm sure that none of the boys and girls in room 13 would purposely and deliberately hurt anyone's feeling because his or her name happened to be a long unfamiliar one. Have you done it? My dear students, I'm sure from your class nobody has hurt her. I don't think that anyone would do that because she has a long name and a funny name. Unfamiliar one, not a funny, but an unfamiliar name. Have you done it? I prefer to think what was said in thoughtlessness. I think father did not know and simply he wrote this letter to me. Maybe he was thoughtless enough to have written this. Actually, the teacher is very angry upset with the classmates. She knew that the students have done it. So in an indirect manner, she is asking them whether they have done it or not. So she says that, I know that all of you feel the way I do. That is a very unfortunate thing to have happened, unfortunate and sad bored, and I want you to think all about it. My dear students, if you have done it, then you have to think about it once more. Because of your attitude, a girl has left the school. She could not tolerate this anymore, and that is the reason they have decided to shift to a new city where they think that no more bullying will take place, no more discrimination will be faced by their children. Okay, so I want to believe that my students did not do that, but in case you have done it, it's very unfortunate. Okay, and I think you people should think over this matter very nicely. The first period was a study period. Maddie tried to prepare her lessons, but she could not put her mind on her work. She had a very sick feeling in the bottom of her stomach. It's like that the feeling of guilt came in her. She was somehow responsible. She was somehow responsible for the things which happened to Wanda. So she tried to concentrate in her studies, but she could not. She felt so sick. True, she had not enjoyed listening to Peggy ask Wanda how many dresses she had in her closet. Maddie was also poor herself. She never liked Peggy teasing Wanda, but she did not say anything. She never said sorry to Wanda also. So now she was feeling guilty when Wanda is no more. When Wanda has gone from the school, now she is regretting her act. She is feeling so sick that she cannot attend the class. True, she had not enjoyed listening to Peggy ask Wanda how many dresses she had in her closet, but she had said nothing. She had stood by silently, and that was just as bad as what Peggy had done. So if you're a silent spectator to not a crime, okay, we cannot say it a crime, but a kind of torture to a fellow classmate, if you remain silent when something wrong is being done to your own classmates, then you are equally responsible. You are also equally responsible like the person who is doing it, because you can change it, but you are not doing it because something is stopping you. So you are also being selfish in that way. So now she was filled with guilt and she could not concentrate in the class. She was a coward. She should have said, my friend, don't do it. Don't ask her. You know that she is a poor girl. Don't ask her and irritate her. Don't humiliate her. But she never did that. Now it's too late because the girl has already left the school. At least Peggy hadn't considered they were being mean, but Maddie, had thought they were doing wrong. At least Peggy was doing that because she was a rich girl, she was a pretty girl, a smart girl, and she did it intentionally. She had no regret in her mind while she was doing this to Wanda. But Maddie had some kind of regret, but she was not able to tell it to Peggy because she feared that if she tells them, what will happen? Maybe the same thing will be repeated to her. So in one way, she was a coward only. You can say that she was not, by being silent to all this humiliation which was going on in Wanda's life, she herself became a coward. Goodness, wasn't there anything she could do? Why did she not do something when there was time? Why she remained a silent spectator? If only she could tell Wanda she hadn't meant to hurt her feelings. She turned around and stole a glance at Peggy, but Peggy did not look up. She seemed to be studying hard. Well, whether Peggy felt badly or not, Maddie had to do. So she turned at Peggy and thought maybe Peggy was also feeling bad. But when she looked at Peggy, Peggy did not look up. Okay, maybe she was studying or don't know. And she also thought that maybe Peggy was not feeling bad about Wanda, but she was feeling really bad. She was really, really upset about it. Had to do something. She had to find Wanda Petronsky. Now she wanted to ask forgiveness. So she decided to find Wanda Petronsky. Okay? Maybe she had not yet moved away. She thought that maybe she had not yet moved away. Maybe Peggy would climb the heights with her and they would tell Wanda she had won the contest. And they thought she was smart and the 100 dresses were beautiful. Now they want to compensate for the humiliation which they have done to whom? Wanda. So they thought that they will go up to their neighborhood, that is the Boggins Height, and they will go and tell her that she was very smart and that the drawings which she made were very beautiful. Okay. So when school was dismissed in the afternoon, Peggy said with pretended casualness, "Hey, let's go and see if that kid had left town or not." Okay, so in a very careless way, Peggy said, let's go and see if the child has left the town or not. Maybe it's a lie also, who knows. Okay, maybe father maybe telling a lie also. So what happened? Anyway, they decided to go. The two girls hurried out of the building up the street towards Boggins Height, the part of town that wore such a forbidding air on this kind of a November afternoon, drizzly, damp, and the smell. Okay, a very dirty neighborhood. Okay, because most of them were very poor people who resided there. Nothing was hygienic. Okay, even in a November afternoon also it was drizzly, damp, and the smell. The place was so damp. Okay, muddy. Well, at least, said Peggy gruffly, I never did call her a foreigner or make fun of her name. I never thought she had a sense to know we were making fun of her anyway. I thought she was too dumb and gay. Look, how can she draw? Okay. Well, Peggy also had some kind of regret. She says that yes, I never did call her a foreigner or make fun of her name. I never thought she had a sense to know we were making fun of her anyway. So I made fun, but not intentionally. She was saying like that. Okay, and she thought that maybe she would, even though she was joking, maybe Wanda would have never minded. She thought like that. But see, I was wrong. How beautifully she can draw. How talented she is. Okay. Maddie could say nothing. Maddie was very, very tense. Was not in a mood to say anything. All she hoped was that they would find Wanda. They want to meet Wanda for one last time and apologize to her for all the wrongs they have said and done against her. She wanted to tell that they were sorry they had picked on her and how wonderful the whole school thought she was and pleased not to move away and everybody would be nice. So they wanted to tell her not to go away to another school or another place, that everybody in the school would be nice to her. Okay, they wanted to tell her. The two girls hurried on. They had to get to the top of the hill before dark. After the school, they directly went to find her house. Okay, I think that was where the Petronskys lived, said Maddie, pointing to a little white house, whips of old grass stuck up here and there along the pathway like thin kittens. The house and its sparse little yard looked shabby but clean. Okay, though the house was shabby, but it was very clean. It reminded Maddie of Wanda's one dress, her faded blue cotton dress, shabby but clean. Okay, so Wanda was not a dirty girl. She used to come to school. The dress was shabby, but it was clean. Okay, her foot was muddy because the neighborhood where she lived, it was a damp place. Okay, and she had to walk. That's why it became damp, muddy. But she was not dirty. So when she saw the house, she was reminded that though she wore one dress only, but it was very neat and clean. There was not a sign of life about the house. Peggy knocked firmly on the door, but there was no answer. She and Maddie went round to the backyard and knocked there. Still there was no answer. There was no doubt about it. The Petronskys were gone. How could they ever make amends? Okay, so they searched for her, but they were already gone. How will they ask forgiveness from her? That was the one thing that was going on in their mind. They turned slowly and made their way back down the hill. Well, anyone, said Peggy. She's gone now. So what can we do? Besides, when I was asking her about all her dresses, she probably was getting good ideas for her drawings. She might not even have won the contest otherwise. So Peggy is saying that she's gone, what we can do. But see, the idea of dresses was given to her by me. Because when I asked her about the dresses, maybe she got ideas that she will create 100 dresses, and in this way she won the contest. Okay. Mary turned this idea carefully over in her head, for if there were anything in it, she would not have to feel so badly. But that night, she could not get to sleep. But that night, what happened? She went home. She could not sleep properly. She thought about Wanda and her faded blue dress and the little house she had lived in. And she thought of the glowing picture, those 100 dresses made all lined up in the classroom. At last, Maddie sat up in bed and pressed her forehead tight in her hands and really thought it was the hardest thing she had ever done. After a long time, she reached an important conclusion. She was never going to stand by and say nothing again. If she ever heard anybody picking on someone because they were funny looking or because they had strange names, she would speak up, even if it meant losing Peggy's friendship. She had no way of making things right with Wanda, but from now on, she would never make anybody else that unhappy again. So what happened? They both went home. Went home. They could not find Wanda, but at home, don't know about Peggy, how regretful she was, but Maddie was very, very regretful. That night she could not sleep, and one decision she made, that never again she is going to hurt anyone. If Peggy does not remain her friend also, she will not support her. If ever she teases anyone, if ever she insults anyone, she is going to speak up. That night, a lesson was learned by her, that never again is she going to insult anyone because they are funny looking, because they're poor, because they wear a particular kind of dress. She made the decision. Okay, so what happened? On Saturday, Maddie spent the afternoon with Peggy. They were writing a letter to Wanda Petronsky. It was just a friendly letter telling about the contest and telling Wanda she had won. They told her how pretty her drawings were, and they asked her if she liked where she was living and if she liked her new teacher. They had meant to say they were sorry, but it ended up with their just writing a friendly letter, the kind they would have written to any good friend, and they signed it with lots of X for love. They mailed the letter to begin side writing please forward on the envelope. Okay, so they wrote a letter because they were very regretful, and they just to tell her that her drawings were very good, and they told her that and if they wanted to ask her if she liked the new area where she was living now, and the school also. Okay, they wanted to ask all the things. Days passed, and they gave it to Bogin sites so that somebody will find it, and they will give her to Wanda, and they will give it to Wanda. Days passed, and there was no answer, but the letter did not come back. Okay, so there was no answer, then nor did they get any reply. So maybe Wanda had received it. Perhaps she was hurt and angry. She was not going to answer, but still Wanda did not answer. Peggy had begun to forget the whole business, and Maudie put herself to sleep at night, making speeches about Wanda, defending her from great crowds of girls who were trying to tease her. How many dresses have you got? And before Wanda could press her lips together in a tight line the way she did before answering, Maddie would cry out, stop, then everybody would feel ashamed the way she used to feel. So at night also. Now, Peggy forgot about all those incidents, but Maddie could not overcome it. At night, day and night, she used to think only of Wanda. And she used to think, even in her dreams, that she is supporting Wanda. Whenever somebody else is teasing her, she will say, stop, don't say like this to her. Okay, all these things, because she could not overcome that guilty feeling in her. Now it was Christmas time, and there was snow on the ground. Christmas bells and a small tree decorated the classroom. On the last day of the school before the holidays, okay, so it was going to be Christmas holidays, winter holidays. So on the last day of the classroom, what happened? Of the class, the teacher showed the class a letter she had received the morning. They received a letter that particular morning. You remember Wanda Petrosky, the gifted little artist who won the drawing contest? Well, she has written me, and I'm glad to know where she lives. Because now I can send her medal, I want to read her letter to you. The class sat up with a sudden interest and listened intently. Everybody, especially Maddie, was so interested to listen to the letter. She was trying to find Wanda, but she was not able to find her. Now finally her letter had come. What she read? Dear Miss Masson, how are you and room 13? Please tell the girls they can keep those 100 dresses. Because in my new house, I have 100 new ones all lined up in my closet. Because in that new house also she went and made drawings, okay? She said that, tell the girls that they can have my drawings, okay? And I would like the girl Peggy to have the drawing of the green dress with the red trimming. Okay, so the green dress and the red trimming, which she talked about in the last in part 1. And when people when the girls tease her that he will look like a Christmas tree, okay, she will look like a Christmas tree. That one, she told Peggy to keep it for Christmas. And her friend Maddie to have the blue one, okay, the blue one for Christmas. I miss that school, and my new teacher does not equalize with you. Merry Christmas to you and every day for you. And but Miss Mason, I want to tell you one thing, that you are so good. My new teacher is not as good as you. Okay, so he's saying that I really miss that school. Yours truly, Wanda Petronsky. On the way from home, Maddie and Peggy held their drawings, so they took it. The teacher gave the drawings to whom? To Maddie and Peggy. Okay, the drawings made by Wanda. That means she had forgiven them. She got their letter and maybe she had forgiven them. Okay, and all the houses had wreaths and holly in the windows. Outside the grocery store, hundreds of Christmas trees were stacked, and in the windows, candy, peppermint sticks, and cornucopias of shiny transparent paper were strung. The air smelled like Christmas, and light shining everywhere reflected different colors on the snow. So it was Christmas time. Everywhere there was decoration. Okay, boy, said Peggy, this shows she really likes us. It shows she got our letter, and this is her way of saying that everything's all right and that's it. So he's saying that yes, she had received our letter and she had really forgiven us and she had liked us. That's why she had presented her drawing to us. Okay, I hope so, said Maddie sadly. She felt sad because she knew she would never see the little tightly polished girl again and couldn't ever really make things right between them. How she wished to become her friend. How she wished that if she was here, she would have made friends with her and she would have talked with her and would have been polite to her. But she was very sad because she was never going to meet her again. Okay? She went home and she pinned her drawing over a torn place in the pink flowered wallpaper in the bedroom where she kept the drawing in her bedroom. The shabby room came alive from the brilliancy of the colors. So Maddie was also not a very rich girl. She was also poor. So she put the drawing in the room, and when they put the drawing in the room, her room became alive. Her room became so beautiful. Maddie sat down on her bed and looked at her drawing. She had stood by and said nothing, but Wanda had been nice to her anyway. She was so happy that at least Wanda had forgiven her and she had gifted her the blue drawing, okay, the blue dress. Tears blurred her eyes and she gazed for a long time at the picture. When she looked at the picture, she thought of all the past activities which she had done and she started crying. Then hastily she rubbed her eyes and studied it intently. The colors in the dress were so vivid that she had scarcely noticed the face and head of the drawing, but it looked like her. So she was crying and she did not notice who in the drawing looked like, okay, but when she rubbed her tears and she noticed that the girl wearing the dress was herself. But in Maddie, it really looked like her own mouth. Why it really looked like her own self? Wanda had really drawn this for her. Excitedly, she ran over to Peggy. Peg, she said, let me see your picture. What's the matter? Asked Peggy as they clattered up to her room where Wanda's drawing was lying face down on the bed. Maddie carefully raised it, okay? Maddie had put it on the wall, but Peggy had carelessly kept it on the bed, okay? So Maddie said, you look at your picture. Mine picture has got my face in it. What about your picture, okay? So Maddie carefully raised it. Look, she drew you. That's you, see? See the drawing? It's really your face, okay? And what did I say? Said Peggy. She must have really liked us anyway. Yes, I told you, right? She must have really liked us. That's why in that green dress she drew me, and in that blue dress she drew your face. Every time she thought of Wanda standing alone in that sunny spot in the schoolyard, looking stolidly over at a group of laughing girls after she had walked off, after she had said sure 100 of them all. So she said, agreed. And yes, she must. What did I say? Said Peggy. She must have really liked us anyway. Yes, she must have, agreed Maddie. And she blinked away the tears that came every time. And every time she thought of Wanda, Maddie became emotional. Okay, so you'll see here how a feeling of regret overtook the girls, especially Maddie. How every time she remembered of Wanda, she became emotional. And one very, very important decision which she made in her life was that never again she will support anyone teasing any girl or any child come whatever may be, she will fight against such kind of situation. So you'll see, anyway, the ending was happy because Wanda forgave them and they also realized their mistakes and they were happy at the end. Okay, so thank you, students.